Cirrus's journey. In the heart of a wide, quiet land, a small bird named Cirrus walked through the snow. The world was a blanket of white, stretching all the way to the pale winter sky. Cirrus was a Lapland longspur. His feathers were the color of earth and dry grass, helping him blend in with the sleeping fields. He was not alone. He was one bird in a flock of thousands. Together, they moved like a soft, rustling cloud over the ground, searching for tiny seeds left over from the harvest. Their lives were simple: find food, stay warm, and wait for the sun to grow stronger. Slowly, the days began to stretch. The winter sun stayed a little longer each afternoon, and the light felt different, warmer. Deep inside Cirrus, something ancient and powerful began to stir. It was a feeling he did not understand, but he knew it meant change was coming. It was a pull, a quiet call from a faraway place. As he felt this pull, a few new, dark feathers began to appear on his chest and face, like tiny promises of the bird he was about to become. Then, one morning, the feeling became a great urge. A single call went out, and the whole flock answered. With a sound like a rushing wind, thousands of birds lifted from the field. They swirled into the air, forming a great, living river in the sky. The long journey north had begun. Cirrus flew with them, his small wings beating steadily. He did not know the exact path, but the flock knew. They were flying toward the summer. The journey was long and tiring. They flew over forests, rivers, and sleeping towns. Some nights, the sky was filled with strange, bright lights from tall towers that confused the birds, and they had to fly carefully. When they grew tired, the flock would land in an open field to rest and find more seeds. Cirrus learned to be watchful and to follow the older, more experienced birds. Every sunrise, they would rise again and continue their journey north. After many days, the air grew colder and cleaner. The land below changed. There were no more tall trees, only a wide, open landscape of mosses, rocks, and low, tough plants. This was the Arctic tundra, their summer home. Cirrus had changed too. His head and throat were now a handsome, deep black. A bold white stripe swept back from his eye, and on the back of his neck was a patch of rich, chestnut brown. He had arrived in his magnificent breeding plumage. This beautiful land was where he would raise a family. Cirrus found a small territory of his own and began to sing. But he did not just sing from the ground. He performed a special flight song. He would burst into the air, flying higher and higher, and then, at the very top, he would glide down slowly with his wings held out, singing a sweet, warbling melody that tumbled through the crisp air. His song was an invitation and a declaration: "I am here." A female longspur heard his song. Her name was Lyra, and her feathers were softer and more subtle than his. She watched his flight display, and she decided he would be a good partner. After he landed, she led him to a sheltered spot at the base of a thick clump of grass. Here, she began to build their nest. With great care, she wove together dry grasses and moss to form a perfect little cup, hidden from the wind and wandering eyes. Soon, the nest held 5 small eggs, speckled with brown. Lyra settled onto them, keeping them safe and warm with her body. The world had changed for Cirrus. He no longer spent his days searching for seeds. The tundra was now alive with insects. He flew back and forth all day, catching crane flies and beetles to bring back to Lyra as she sat patiently on the nest. Their food was no longer seeds, but the rich, buzzing life of the Arctic summer. One day, a tiny pecking sound came from inside the eggs. Soon, the nest was filled with small, helpless chicks. They were little more than tiny mouths and big appetites. Now Cirrus and Lyra worked together from the first light of the long Arctic day until the sun dipped low on the horizon. They were tireless, bringing thousands of insects and spiders to feed their hungry family. The chicks grew stronger with every meal. The Arctic summer is very short, so the chicks had to grow fast. In just over a week, they were covered in feathers and were strong enough to climb out of the nest. They were clumsy and curious, hopping through the low plants near their home. Cirrus and Lyra stayed close, teaching them how to find food and watch for danger. They had successfully raised a new generation of Lapland longspurs. As quickly as it came, the summer began to fade. A chill returned to the wind, and the vibrant green of the tundra turned to gold and red. The insects vanished, and the longspur's diet shifted back to the hardy seeds of grasses and sedges. The ancient pull that had brought Cirrus north began to stir again, but this time it was calling him south. His beautiful black and chestnut feathers started to fade, replaced by the simpler patterns of winter. Soon, Cirrus, Lyra, and their young ones joined other families. The small groups merged, growing into a great flock once more. One day, they all rose into the sky and turned their faces south. They were leaving the tundra behind, carrying the strength of the summer with them. Their long journey would take them back to the wide, open fields, to places kept safe and welcoming by people on the ground who knew that the sky must be kept clear and the land must be kept healthy for the travelers to return, year after year.